Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the VRG VRL Tuesday night, Season 9 in the Ford GT. Cutting it close here at Daytona for the Daytona Continental. A little different for you this evening. We're going to do 15 minutes of practice, 30 minutes of qualifying. Then we're going to have an hour-long Enduro here at Daytona. Looks like it's a daytime race. So let's check the clock here. Ooh, I'm not sure what race time it is in the sim. I'm not sure if we're going to be under the lights tonight. But it looks like a beautiful 78 degrees. Daytona Beach, Florida, 55% humidity, partly cloudy, 2-mile-an-hour wind. Track temperature 120 degrees. Currently watching Jeff Underwood in the background there, scrubbing in some tires here. So we're going to do 15 minutes of practice, 30 minutes of qualifying, and then we're going to have an hour-long endurance session. This is Ian Wisbon with the VRG VRL. I'll be back at the end in just a little bit. Thanks for tuning in out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the little bell. Find out when we go live every Tuesday night. Second to last race of Season 9 here. Next week we're going to be at Sebring. But sit tight. Be back at you here at Daytona. Ian with Wisbon here with you at the VRG VRL Tuesday night Daytona Continental. Tonight we're going to have an hour-long endurance race. We got 15 minutes of practice out. Then we're going to have 30 minutes of group qualifying. Currently watching Jeff Underwood, Stefan Vappa. So they're getting their laps time set in here. Got a new camera here at this track. Haven't been to Daytona in a bit. And looks like we got a couple of nice viewpoints to take advantage of. Some rather dynamic camera views here. Going to have to keep an eye on these as I'm working the booth. Some nice panning. RVs are in the way just a little bit. Let's jump over to another drone cam here. Excellent stuff here from the camera crew at iRacing in Daytona. We'll pull up our points here real quick because I think it's worthwhile to take a look at as we are currently standing. Just updated these before we got on the broadcast. Believe them to be accurate. Went to the iRacing time and scoring folks myself. Stefan Vapp is currently out on top with 130 points. Tied with second place Jeff Underwood. Believe that does come down to finishing positions thus far through the season. Steve Ficacci, latecomer into season 9, but already up into P3 here with 2 light races remaining. Fourth place Dave Curtis, and then Wiley Cox rounding out the top 5 there with 110 points. And on down the line. So, looking for some exciting stuff here this evening from our VRL competitors. This is Ian Wisbon with the VRG VRL. We thank you for joining us out there in YouTube land. Hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell. Turn on your notifications. Sit back and relax. 15 minutes practice, and then we'll be back out with 30 minutes qualifying and then an hour-long enduro here at the Daytona Continental, Daytona International Speedway. So taking a look at timing and scoring, Jeff Underwood's out on top at 145.915 at the moment. Stefan Vappen not too far behind. Just snipping at the heels of Stefan, we have Dave Curtis here. Carlos Bonds, 4th quickest. Bob Lang, 5th. We got Kurt Uzbay in 6th. Jim Karamanis, race chairman. 7th place, John Wood in 8th. We got several other folks entered, hanging out in the pits, getting ready to come on out here and put a couple of laps down. Barney keeping a close eye on the track there at start-finish tower. A big thank you to Office Service Company for sponsoring the VRG VRL this season and seasons prior. Matthew Barber and Office Service Company for all of your office needs, providing the VRL with some fantastic end-of-season prizes. A couple of drinking tumblers engraved with the logo. Hard-earned in a long season of sim racing. Not just for fun. Here we're at Daytona. You know, not going to necessarily take the cars down to Daytona and go racing, but hey, we do go to Summit Point, we go to Lime Rock, we go to Watkins Glen, and in the winter when it's snowing, you can still go racing from the comfort of your home, the warmth of your home, hot cup of cocoa next to you. Keep those skills sharp for when the snow melts, we get back out on track there. Sorry about that, Chad. Bit of the cameraman's curse there. Put the camera on you and things generally go sideways. Nothing personal. VRL race chairman Jim Karamanis and the ELB Racing Racer Walsh Co. Ford GT this evening. Down in Florida, probably going to stop by a Racer Walsh company. Say hey to Brian. Check out those Pintos. And I'm going to correct myself here on tonight's practice is 30 minutes. Sorry, qualifying is 15 minutes. Feature race of 1 hour. Got to flip that, reverse it. Going to try a little something different here in this evening's broadcast. Since we've got an hour-long Enduro here, I do have the ability to kind of automate a lot of the things that are being displayed as far as the graphics overlay is concerned. So I'm going to stretch my legs here a little bit and see just how much of this we can get clicking around on its own. So maybe I just have to worry about talking and running the cameras. And take one of my hats off here. So bear with me. I'll still be here mucking about. 25 minutes into this 30-minute practice session. We'll follow it up with 15 minutes qualifying. Then we're going to go into an hour-long Enduro here at Daytona for the Daytona Continental, the VRG VRL. This is Ian Wisbon. Appreciate you joining us here. Enjoy the racing. And that wraps it up for our 30-minute practice session there. We're going to come back 15 minutes qualifying. Everybody's going to go out at the same time here. Try and set some quick laps. As we saw there at the end of that session, looks like Vap and Focaccia are going to be out on top as expected. Jeff Underwood also quick. We'll see who else is able to find some pace out here as everybody starts rolling out from the grid. In a hurry, out of the pit lane. It is crowded. Let's see when that damage model gets turned on. I suspect right about here. Everybody makes it out safely, cleanly. Cold tires. Got to keep it together here. I see Chad Grovik has joined us this evening. I want to extend to Chad a very heartfelt thank you. Came out to the house, helped him get his rig set up, put together. Bought me a very nice lunch. I expect to see quick lap times from Chad and welcome him back into the VRL and racing with us this evening. VRG Vice President John Wood here, sporting the new VRG logo and livery here on his Ford GT this evening. Let's zoom in just a little bit and see what that car looks like. Sharp. Also sporting the Office Service Company sponsorship there as well. Looking nice. Gonna have to update the graphics here and pick up that new VRG logo for next season's broadcast, perhaps. Looks like we might be switching things up in the next season. That might mean some different kind of racing, some different kind of cars. Perhaps some tracks that we've not yet been to. Maybe across the pond. We shall see. And I myself hope to get back behind the wheel and start turning some laps here. It's been a little bit since I've had the chance, so we shall see. Certainly appreciate you watching out there in YouTube and Facebook land, joining us here every Tuesday night. We'll sit back, relax, wait for some time to stack up here, and we'll see how things are looking. Going to do 15 minutes of quali here, and then we're going to set that for a 1-hour Enduro coming up at Daytona International Speedway. Pulling up the old school timing tower for just a moment so we can check and see how everybody's doing. Looks like John Wood's currently out on top with a minute 47, 245. Kurt Uzbey at 148. Jim Karamanis. Looks like everybody else is still trying to find some space and some room to set some fast lap times. Though it does look like somebody has picked up a cone. A bit of a kerfluffle there through the bus stop between Chad and not sure who that is that was pushing the cone, but we got a little all elbows in there. Get them all turned around and get back out on track there. There's the timing starting to shake out now. Stefan Vapp currently out on top. Fastest lap 145, 161. Steve Focacci not too far behind. Expect those guys to task that one back and forth just a little bit. If you hear some barking in the background, that's my co-host, Arthur Francis. He's very excited about tonight's race. Apologies for any interruptions. So 15 minutes of qualifying. We're coming up to the end of it here. We're going to have about a minute and a half left. Stefan Vappa currently out on top. Fastest lap at 1:45.105. Steve Ficacci just behind with a 1:45.178. Jeff Underwood, we're currently following along with a 1:45.445. Darren Treacle rejoining us. In honor of that, we must jump up to the Treacle Insurance blimp and follow around our man Darren Treacle. Returning after a short absence there as he went off to tackle the runoffs and is brand new to him, BMW E46. Understand he's looking at coming back next year faster, stronger, but he had a great time at Indy racing in the runoffs. So welcome back. Thanks again to the Treacle Insurance blimp for our eye in the sky coverage of the Daytona Continental, the VRG VRL at Daytona International Speedway this evening. 15 minutes of qualifying here. Darren currently qualifying P4. Dave Curtis round out that top 5. We're going to come back after this with an hour Enduro. We'll go through the grid once timing and scoring gets back to us once we finish this qualifying session. That'll wrap it up for our qualifying here. Stefan Vapp is out on top. We'll wait for timing and scoring to officiate, give us the official qualifying here in just a moment. Let's take a look, see if we are ready to go with that yet. Maybe just an empty set. Wait till these last several cars get back to the pit lane after finishing their flyers. Beautiful view overhead here at Daytona International from the Treacle Insurance blimp as we wait for this qualifying session to wrap up. Just a couple of folks still out on track. Looks like Carlos Bonds, John Clerk might still be out there turning a lap or two. They'll get yanked back to the pits here in just a little bit. We're going to start it off with an hour, kick off an hour Enduro race here at Daytona. Believe we're still going to be in the sun the entire time. We shall see. Sometimes times change between the race sessions, and I did not look to see what race chairman Jim Caramanis has in store for us this evening insofar as sim time versus real world time. Jumping down to our starting grid here. Qualifying in pole position, we have Stefan Vappa. Outside Stefan's going to be Steve Ficacci. Darren Treacle, I've seen this fish before. Jeff Underwood, P4. Dave Curtis, P5. Carlos Bonds, P6. Jim Graziano, P7. Wiley Cox in 8th. Bob Lang in 9th. Jan Boss, John Wood, P10. Kurt Uzbay, 11th. Race chairman Jim Caramanis qualifying in 12th position. 13th, we have Clark Orstrom. 14th, John Clark. 15th, Ralph Solomon. 16th, Toby Yurka. 17th, Spencer Patterson. 18th, Chad Grovik. Good to see Chad and Spencer joining us. Toby as well. Ralph Solomon. A couple of folks coming back to us after a bit of time away. Nice to have you back here. So we're going to get rolling off here. I believe it's a bit of a short pace lap, and then we're going to go green, green, green. Leave the grid up here as we roll away. Wait for the grid to fill up. See, we're waiting on Darren and Carlos. I understand Darren likes to have a plate of spaghetti in between sessions here. Helps him get the mindset. Fuel for the fire. Darren is on the grid, so he has finished his pasta for the evening, and we're just waiting on Carlos Bonds. He has slotted in. Chad Grahovic still sitting out there. We'll see if he gets to the grid in time to roll off. Lights are up. We're going to roll around here. Get ready to go racing. Pull this one back to Barney so we can watch the grid slowly make their way around the bank turns of Daytona International. Storied track, 24 hours at Daytona. The winter months, I expect the VRG VRL is going to put together a couple of endurance teams to tackle just that. The 24 hours of Daytona in the sim, the 12 hours of Sebring in the sim, maybe the 24 hours of Spa and Nürburgring. Tune in, and if you'd like to join us, get in touch with us. Stop by the vrgonline.org. Drop us a line. We can get you involved in the VRG VRL and go racing with us in those winter months when the snow flies and you can't take the race car out. Off in the distance, we see our racers headed towards us. Stefan Vapp out on pole. Steve Ficacci just outside. Darren Treacle, Jeff Underwood, Dave Curtis. An hour Enduro race coming up here at Daytona International for the Daytona Continental. The lights are up. Barney's got the green flag in his hand. And we are green flag racing. Green flag, folks. Let's boogity. Clear across start finish. Stefan Vappa leading Ficacci into turn one, just behind Darren Treacle. Staying tight there into one. Looks like the rest of the field making it through cleanly. It's a bit touch and go here. It's a little bit tight. Let's see if we can't pull up just a little bit more. See what's going on throughout the pack here. Clean for everybody thus far. I see no incidents on my sheet. Congratulations, guys, for making it through a rather hairy turn one there at Daytona. Wiley Cox breathing down Carlos Bond's neck. A couple of good races we've seen from these two throughout the season, the last couple of races. Stefan Vapp is still leading Steve Ficacci out in front here. On the nose of Steve Ficacci as he is chasing Stefan Vappa. Let's take a look out Steve's gearbox. A bit of distance back to Darren Treacle in fourth place, Jeff Underwood. Steve taking advantage of the draft as they head into the bus stop. Stefan onto the binders, Steve behind, following close but not too close, leaving a little bit of breathing room. Back to Steve. We have Darren and Jeff Underwood behind. Steve looks to be making a move down the front straight to the inside of one. Is he going to stick it? Is he going to hang out just a little bit longer? Going to let Stefan mull on that one for a little bit. Expect you got an hour-long race here, which is twice as long as our typical races, so no need to make any dramatic moves. It looks like Darren Treacle may be running wide there, coming on into one, and drops a position there to Jeff Underwood. He's going to want to get that one back. Dave Curtis tucked up behind in fifth position here, so top five, pulling up our timing and scoring here. Let's see, Jeff Underwood picking up a position here. Everybody's running pretty close together. Let's drop down through the rest of the grid and see how everybody's doing. Pretty tight throughout still. We're going to jump back here to Spencer Patterson. He's been blinking a little bit, so we might have a hard time keeping Spencer on the broadcast here, but we will do what we can to get everybody a bit of coverage here this evening. We've got an hour to do it, so plenty of time to spend with these folks. Hopefully everybody's hydrated, got their cool shirts on, and ready to put in an hour of high-banked, high-performance racing here at Daytona International. This is Ian Wisbom with the VRG VRL. We're going to sit back and click through the grid here for a little while, and we'll come back to you once things start to heat up, though it does look like Steve Ficacci's got a bit of a run here on Stefan Vappa. And we shall see what this turns into. They come past start-finish, past Barney. Steve Ficacci to the outside. Stefan's got the inside line here, but it looks like Steve's going to sling it around the outside there and take P1 away from Stefan running. Looks a bit wide from this camera angle. Geez, I thought Steve was going to lose it, but that's just my eyes playing tricks on me. Behind Jeff Underwood and Darren Treacle. Looks like Darren's made his way back from that slight off he had going through one. Stefan a little bit of a wiggle. thus far, very clean racing with the VRG VRL this evening at Daytona. It's a long race, so everybody's probably playing it a bit more conservative than they typically would. Top 5 split by not much more than a second. Well, more than a second, but close enough. Couldn't quite throw a blanket over them, but you could try. Kurt Uzbay in the hunt here behind Clark Gorstrom. Kurt closing the gap down. Be able to get the power down. If he gets a run on Clark here, might have him getting up onto the banking. Steve Ficacci having some issues there going into one. Looks like Stefan Vappa might be able to take this spot if he can stay to the inside. Keeps Steve shoved out there. Looks like Steve's going to have a dirty line going in to this right-hander, and Stefan is able to take away P1 from Steve Ficacci there. Jeff Underwood may also be able to make some hay, and Darren Treacle benefiting from what looked to be Steve Ficacci getting a bit wide there, coming into one. And your new race leader, Stefan Vappa. Definitely avoiding what looked to be Jim Caramanis spinning there. Looks like Darren Treacle is going to make an attempt here. Jeff Underwood on the inside of the turn there. Jeff able to retake that. We'll see if they can stick close to each other. Heading down into the embankment here. Exciting stuff for our top 4 or 5 racers here. Though Dave Curtis has fallen back quite a bit, so this group of 4 has gapped the field pretty substantially at this point. But running very clean, very close, and still quite a bit of time left on the clock here. About 18 minutes, coming up on 18 minutes into this hour-long Enduro session here at Daytona for the Daytona Continental with the VRG VRL. And my name is Ian Wisbon. I'm your broadcaster this evening. Second to last race of Season 9. Next week we're going to be at Sebring, so we're staying down in Florida. We're going to get some sun, get some fun, head out to the sandy beaches after this one. Steve Ficacci picking up a tow here from Stefan. And he's long straightaway here at Daytona coming off the banking. Looks like he might have it on him to make a run into one here. Thinks a little bit better of it, lifts a bit. Bit of lap traffic here. Let's see what this does here. Looks like that's Carlos Bonds here, letting our leaders through. Steve Ficacci looks to go on to the outside, maybe taking advantage of that little brief interruption with that traffic. Stefan still has the inside line, though. It looks like he's going to be able to make that one stick, but it might jam up Jeff Underwood a little bit and allow Darren Treacle to make up some space here, which I think it just did. Darren Treacle making a move on Jeff Underwood on the outside here. Going to be a drag race. Down into one, and Darren Treacle takes third position away from Jeff Underwood. Long fought battle there. I saw Darren flashing his headlights a lap prior, letting Jeff know he's coming through. Not sure if that had anything to do with it. I suspect Jeff didn't give that position up. We'll see if Darren can make this one stick and see if he can make any progress on Stefan and Steve ahead for P2 and perhaps lead of this race. We'll run down through the rest of the field here for you. Pick everybody up, see how they're doing. Everybody's pretty well gapped out here. Let's pull up this map real quick, see how spread out we are. Top 4 competitors pretty much nose to tail. Everybody else is fairly well spread out at this point. Still a fair amount of time left to go in this race. About the halfway point in 25 minutes. We got an hour-long enduro here. Running order stays the same at the top. Stefan Vapp is still leading Steve Ficacci in second place. Darren Treacle maintains that third place position. Jeff Underwood not too far behind. Looks like Ficacci's headed towards the pits. I did not ask in advance, uncertain if a refueling pit stop is going to be necessary. I suppose we shall find out. Ficacci into pit lane. Let's see what he does here. Car goes up in the air, he's going to get tires, but I don't expect that's the case, so perhaps he's just taking on some fuel here. Unfortunately, we can't see that. iRacing hides that from us. So pitting from a second position is Steve Ficacci, still in the pit lane. And he is off. Suspect that was a fuel, so we can expect perhaps the rest of our leaders to come in and shake things up a little bit here. Current running order after that pit stop is Stefan Vapp in first place, Darren Treacle in second, Jeff Underwood third, Dave Curtis fourth, Jim Graziano in fifth position. Steve Ficacci back out on track, rejoined here in 6th place. You see Wiley Cox just behind. Jim Graziano just ahead. Jump back up here to our race leaders as they come down the front straight, see if they by chance tuck into the pit lane, and it looks like, yes, in fact, coming in for fueling, race leader Stefan Vappa. Halfway point of this race, so we can expect probably Darren and Jeff Underwood, Darren assuming the lead of this race, to have to come in perhaps next lap around, depending upon how close he's running his fuels, and then Jeff Underwood just behind. So new race leader Darren Treacle, 2nd place Jeff Underwood. Stefan Vappa currently in pit lane taking on fuel. Top pit box there. Expect him to roll out here shortly. It's a narrow pit exit here at Daytona. You've got to be careful here because we see Stefan Vappa, and as you can hear, Stefan just tags the wall there a little bit. Pit limiter's on. He is out. A little tricky to navigate that coming out, and I think this is going to be 7th position for him. Wiley Cox, Jim Graziano, and then Steve Ficacci ahead of him. Doesn't look like Stefan took any damage there, thankfully. Back up to our race leaders as they're coming through the bus stop. We'll see who tucks in here. Expect Darren probably has to pit, as does Jeff. We'll see if Jeff continues to try and take a lap while Darren is in the pits, or if they both follow each other in so they can come out at the same time. Darren, a bit of a madman when it comes to calculating the fuel, so it could be burping when he comes around the next lap. Gonna squeeze it for all it's worth and make hay while he can. Jeff Underwood also staying out. They're going to have a little bit of traffic to contend with here. Darren Treacle coming up on this group of cars here. I believe that's John Wood, John Clark. Staying low on the apron there to let the leaders come through. Bit of a slowdown there as he's navigating some lap traffic there. So Jeff Underwood falling off just a little bit there from Darren Treacle, but expect him to get that back here. I'm wondering just how far these guys are able to go on fuel unless Stefan and Steve intentionally cut their fuel short to be quick out the front. Steve catching up here, and Stefan not too far behind, about, see him there just in the distance, just under 3 seconds behind Steve Ficacci. So Steve Ficacci currently running in 3rd place, Stefan Vappa in 4th, with race leaders Darren Treacle and Jeff Underwood most likely having to make a pit stop here in the very near future. Jeff Underwood taking his pit stop. Darren Treacle, as we saw, continuing to go. So Darren apparently carrying much more fuel than everybody else, or at least finding a way to conserve it more so than the others. So that will move Ficacci up into second place as he passes Jeff Underwood, who's currently in pit lane. Stefan Vappa will move up to third from fourth. Jeff Underwood, a very nice pit stop there, able to rejoin the race in fourth position. Stefan Vappa gets around him just as he exits the pit lane. So current running order is going to be Darren Treacle, leader of this race, Steve Ficacci in second. Third place, we're watching Stefan Vappa and Jeff Underwood just leaving the pit lane in fourth position after their fueling pit stop. So the last man standing here who has not yet pitted is our race leader, Darren Treacle, and we shall see what's next. He's looking sprightly through the bus stop. This car seems to be handling quite well. I suspect it's very light on fuel. We'll see just how much further he can push it. Apparently this car had a plate of pasta as well in between sessions, and it looks like, yep, Darren's going to tuck into the pits here from the race lead, take on a splash and dash of fuel. Let's hide this real quick so we can see just how much time's left here. Coming up on 40 minutes left here, so Darren's going to be able to go shorter on fuel than the others, but he's gonna be rolling the dice here trying to get through this pit lane in and out before he gets passed by the approaching storm of Ficacci, Vappa, and Underwood. Now the little bubble's going to be a little grayed out there while Darren's down in the pit lane not rolling away, but it looks like he is rolling just as Ficacci is passing the entrance to the pit lane. Depending upon how quickly Darren can get rolling out of the pits here, can he get out in front of Ficacci? Where is he as he's leaving the pit lane? Has he made it his way around the wall yet? And he has. Darren Treacle has managed to take a splash and dash from first place, enter the pit lane, exit in first place, and retain the race lead. Steve Ficacci just behind. Not that much of a gap between the two. Stefan Vappa behind him, so Darren Treacle has to be extremely pleased with his pit crew's performance here this evening. I suspect everybody's getting a hot plate of spaghetti and meatballs if this works out in Darren's favor here this evening. We'll jump up to the Treacle Insurance blimp so we can get an overhead view of this one and jump back down through our race leaders. So that is Darren Treacle pitting from first position, taking a splash and dash, 20 minutes of fuel left. Hopefully he got enough in there and it's not going to be burping on that final race lap. Steve Ficacci in second position. Pitted first, was leading, lost that to Stefan for a little bit, then he dove in, got his fuel. Stefan stuck out a lap later. He tucked in, took his fuel, and then Jeff Underwood pitting just a couple of laps ago, and that's our running order. Treacle, Ficacci, Vappa, Underwood to fourth place. Dave Curtis back in fifth position here. Darren's able to maintain about a second gap here on Steve Focacci. So still pretty evenly matched here. I am very impressed by Darren's fuel management strategy here and the ability to get in and out of those pits and retain the lead. Though it does look like Steve, maybe as I have spoken too soon, is closing down that gap a little bit, getting up close and pulling a bit of a draft here on Darren as they get into the bus stop. Steve closing up real quick on Darren into turn one there, taking a slightly different entrance there. Steve being able to hang it out just a little bit more. Darren protecting that inside line there through one. But has allowed Steve to close that gap. Running down through the rest of the grid here, Stefan Vapp currently running in third position. Darren and Steve able to step out quite a bit on them, about a 5-second gap ahead of Stefan here. Jeff Underwood will jump back to him about 2.5 seconds down from Stefan. Dave Curtis currently running a very comfortable 5th position here. Lots of time and space between him and the next. Jim Graziano in 6th position. Carlos Bonds, John Wood, Karamanis is Bob Lang exiting the pit lane after his fuel stop. Bit of traffic here ahead for Darren Treacle as they are coming up towards the bus stop. I believe that's Ralph Solomon ahead. Ducks down towards the apron of the track, allowing the race leaders through, though Steve Focacci able to make up some space there on Darren as they enter into the bus stop. Stefan Vappa taking a little bit of a chunk out of that 5-second gap they had there. Looks like Steve's got a bit of a toe here on Darren as they are coming on to the start-finish straightaway. Steve's going to have a nice run to the outside here. Let's see if he can make this one stick up top there. We've seen him do this to Stefan earlier in the race. Seems to be able to just slingshot it around that outside line. And it looks like he was able to pull that off, hanging out there just a little bit longer. Darren not able to close the door there, but allowing him to go by, keep it clean, and maybe get him back elsewhere. We shall see if Steve's able to just run away with it at this point. Some traffic ahead, so that might prove to be to Darren's benefit, as we see Stefan and Jeff Underwood coming through one as well. We'll jump in the cockpit here with Steve as he navigates this traffic. Quick peek out the back there. Looks like that might have caught Darren just a little bit off guard there. Had to check up on the brakes. Giving Steve a bit of room here now. Hard into the bus stop. I believe that's Clark Orstrom ahead and Carlos Spawns. Darren not quite close enough to pick up a draft from Steve. Steve benefiting from probably the draft he's getting off Clark. Five-and-a-half second gap between second place Darren Treacle and third place Stefan Vappa, and then 3 and change back to Jeff Underwood. So 3 and 4 falling off from P1 and P2. Clark Orstrom getting a bit agricultural there at the bus stop. Coming into the closing minutes of this hour-long Enduro here at Daytona International for the Daytona Continental, the VRG VRL. My name is Ian Wisman. I'm your broadcaster here this evening. Darren Treacle, who had an amazing pit stop from the lead to come back out in the lead, currently running in second position here, to Steve Ficacci, able to close up real tight here. Unfortunately, looks like there might be a... Whoa. Don't think he expected to get that close to Steve that quickly there, and unfortunately fell off, but it looked like he had a shot there at taking that position back, unfortunately. Not to Darren's success here this evening. Ficacci powering away here and spreading that gap back out to about a second and a half. Our pole sitter for this race, Stefan Vappa, first to pit in the race, and unfortunately not able to come back with quite the vigor that Darren did after his pit stop. Currently running in third position, fourth place, Jeff Underwood here. We should see a white flag here in just a little bit, probably another 2, maybe 3 laps here in this hour Enduro. Gap between P1 and P2 is about a second and a half, 1.6 seconds. Darren's going to have to hope that Steve makes a mistake here, but that's very uncommon. So you may just have to throw caution to the wind and stand on it just a little bit longer than the guy ahead of you. Steve stretching out that gap to just about 2 seconds over second place Darren Treacle. Expect that we're getting into the short moments of this race, 57 minutes, so we probably another lap or so. We should be seeing the white flag come around here with Barney. We'll check that out next time Mr. Ficacci passes start-finish. Gap remaining at about 2 seconds. Race leader Steve Ficacci over second place Darren Treacle. Pulling up the Barney cam here. Let's see what flag he's got in hand. Expect the white flag to be coming by right now. So we are currently working last lap. Barney giving it all he's got to let these guys know they are working last lap. Race leader Steve Ficacci, second place Darren Treacle. Gap at a 1.79 at the moment. Darren's going to need a bit of a miracle here to get Steve to slip up enough and make up that distance. Jump on board with our race leader as he finishes this last lap, the 1 hour Daytona Continental with the VRG VRL. Exciting stuff here this evening. Pit stops definitely playing a factor here. Pole sitter Stefan Vappa first to pit in. Unfortunately stuck back in third position. Did not have quite the success that Steve Ficacci, Darren Treacle did. Jeff Underwood back in fourth place. Steve works his way up onto the banking. Darren still about 1.8 seconds behind. Maintaining the distance. Not certain he's going to be able to pull it off. Not close enough to pick up a draft here. On the banking. Coming through the bus stop for the last time here. Race leader Steve Ficacci. Darren cutting just a little bit out of that lead, but he's not going to be able to pull it off. We're going to pull up Barney in the start-finish and see that checkered flag waving to give Steve Ficacci the race win here at Daytona International for the Daytona Continental with the VRG VRL. And as we can see, checkered flag is out. Barney giving it all he's got. Steve flashing the headlights. That's a P1 for Steve Ficacci. Second place, Darren Treacle. Coming around now, your third place finisher, Stefan Vappa. A long, hard-fought race. Unfortunately, not the finish I'm sure Stefan was looking for. Fourth position is going to be Jeff Underwood, followed by Dave Curtis in fifth as he's working his way around the track. Rest of the competitors are going to pick up the checkered flag as they come by. We'll pick up Dave and ride this one through the checkers. Or jump up to our race leaders and see what they're doing. If there's any hijinks going on. Looks like they're going to be respectable sorts and drive it back onto the trailer for their crews. So a short hop, skip, and a jump over to Sebring next week. For the Sebring Sprints with the VRG VRL. That'll be Tuesday night at 8 p.m. I'll be back here in the broadcast booth with you, and then we're going to start figuring out Season 10. I don't have any idea where we're going or what we're racing, but if you'd like to join us, stop by the VRG at vrgonline.org. Drop us a line, get involved. Winter is coming, folks. It's maybe a good time to rewatch the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, and then get your sim rig in order and come racing with us. Pull up the official results here once timing and scoring get those back to us. Let's see if I can pull up our points and get those updated. Still looking for the official results from timing and scoring. Since we have cars still out there circulating, it might take them a minute to get those back to us. Results look to be available. And our points are in. Let's pull those up and see how we did today at Daytona. Race winner this evening, Steve Ficacci. Second place, Darren Treacle. Third place, Stefan Vappa. Fourth, Jeff Underwood. Fifth, Jim Graziano. Let's get these point standings updated. Our current standings here in the VRG VRL Championship Season 9. Looks like Steve Ficacci's out on top. We're going to have to get these confirmed with official timing and scoring. Stefan Vappa in second, Jeff Underwood in third, Dave Curtis in fourth, Wiley Cox in fifth in our championship currently. We're going to cut over to the broadcast booth here in just a moment. We'll see which of our race finishers are going to join us this evening. Pardon me, folks. I'll be right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ian Wisbon with the VRG VRL. We are back with tonight's race winners, the Daytona Continental at Daytona International Speedway. Joining us this evening, we have race winner Steve Ficacci. We've got second place finisher Darren Treacle. We're going to talk about that one in just a little bit because that was some exciting stuff here this evening. Let me pull up the race results here so I know what I'm talking about in the broadcast booth. A lot to do up here. Stefan Vapp is joining us. We also have Jeff Underwood in the booth with us. First off, we're going to start with our race winner this evening. Steve, excellent drive from you this evening. I honestly, up here in the booth, was going a bit nuts whenever Darren managed to pull off that pit stop from first, come back out into first. But you managed to pull it off and take it from Mr. Treacle. How was your race here this evening, Steve? Well, and I was watching. I had not done the math. I hadn't talked to anybody before the race. I figured as much there would be a pit stop. Just wasn't sure what was going to happen. Stefan, obviously, you were first to tuck in. Pole sitter here this evening's race, but it didn't quite work out to your benefit here this evening. You just didn't seem to get the luck of the draw coming back out of the pit lane and get back out there on top. But otherwise, I think it was a pretty good race for you, Stefan. Why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Always good when you've got a pit stop race. And I sort of figured Darren was going to do what he did because he comes in cold and he gets used to the car. And then after he's used to the car, you can't touch him. So this is kind of not surprising to me. I was happy to finish where I was.
Well, it was exciting stuff here, and between the four of you that were out there, and Jeff, you had an outstanding race as well, and tight through the rest of the race. You also got a good pit stop. I was really wondering who was going to go further. I thought for a minute Darren might run it dry, and don't worry, Darren, we'll get to you. But it was some exciting stuff up here to watch how the pit strategies are going to work out. And Steve, I apologize. I was sitting on the mic when you were talking, so the broadcast didn't actually get to hear what you said there. So if you don't mind just refreshing us there on how that race went, I'm sure the fans out there would love to hear from you.
I was just saying that with the nature of a track like this with such long straightaways, you kind of get the true pace of cars hidden because we're all drafting, and sometimes car in fourth can set a huge fast time, and maybe they're fast, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just hanging on and drafting down the straightaways. So I really wasn't sure where everybody was, and when we did our pits, I pit first, then Stephen pit, and I was a little surprised to be so far in front of him because I hit a little bit of traffic when I came out, and then Jeff pit, and I think we were 3 seconds clear of him. And I said, "All right, I think we're okay," because if I, based on what I was trying to track, I thought Darren was a second ahead of him, but Darren must have had a really good pit stop because he was, I think, 2 seconds out on me when I got out. So I was a little not shocked, but just a little surprised based on where Jeff was. And then, I know Darren gets faster, so I was a little worried he was just going to drive away from me. But I feel like the draft was really long in this car. I don't know if everybody else noticed that too. It wasn't super powerful, but it was almost 2 seconds back. It would start helping you. So that definitely helped me at the end there.
Yeah, I was paying attention to it because towards the end there, Darren was about a second, 1.7 seconds back. Mm-hmm. It looked like he was just starting to pick it up there just a little bit there. Well, over to you, Jeff. It looked like you were extremely consistent here this evening. Unfortunately, just not in a place to really capitalize on that, but great qualifying performance and a solid race from you this evening. How did it work out for you?
It worked out pretty well. I was basically, it was an hour-long race. So my goal for the first half was to just hang with the leaders and do whatever it took to stay in their draft. And that worked out pretty well. Darren got by me, about a quarter of the way in the race. I made a little mistake and got on the gas too early in the bus stop and got a little loose, and it killed my drive. And gave him a clear opportunity to get by. And so I just hung on to him and let the pit stop cycle. And it seemed like he and I were on the same strategy. We were going to stretch it as long as we possibly could to minimize our pit time. But I basically had a quarter of a lap of fuel left when I pit. So maybe he started with more fuel than the rest of us, or whatever. But that was all I could do, and it seemed pretty good. My time on pit lane was pretty minimal, and it picked me up some position. But then, I kind of had a little mistake and some unfortunate traffic things, and couldn't hang on to Stefan there at the end and lost his draft. But otherwise, it was pretty fun, pretty solid race.
Yeah, I was curious. You guys, I noticed that late in the run, the car could brake real late in a straight line, but if you were trail braking, the inside tire would lock. So it was worse in some corners, but much better in other corners. Or is that my imagination?
I don't think you're imagining that at all. The tires do really weird things on this, and I felt like I was adjusting to it for most of the race.
Well, Mr. Treacle, we'll look at you. I was talking as we were getting ready to set the grid here. You probably had stepped away for a plate of spaghetti and meatballs, which I know you like to have in between sessions. And after pulling off that rather excellent pit stop there, because I figured you had to have been burping coming around at some point, that the entire pit crew was also going to be treated to a big plate of spaghetti and meatballs, because to come in and out in first place was pretty outstanding there. Very strong race from you here this evening, Darren. Obviously, Steve pipped you there, but good stuff. How was it? Haven't seen you in a bit. How's things?
Oh, it was good. It was a good race. Honestly, I didn't expect to be where I was. I popped in there kind of last minute in the qualifying. It is kind of standard procedure for me to do that, but being that I really haven't had any time in the car. But I made a little mistake there early on. Jeff got by, so I just kind of hung out behind him and tried to stay on his bumper and save fuel, and just kind of waited for a mistake, and which he did. He mentioned coming out of the bus stop, so I got by him, and then I was behind Stefan and Steve, kind of hanging out, saving fuel, and was just going to stretch it out as long as I could. I had a little bit of gas when I went into the pits, but it wasn't burping yet. I was on the verge. My pit stop was probably the best pit stop I think I've ever had, honestly, because they're not usually that good. I don't know. I mean, I stopped like perfect. It was pretty wild. But and Steve's usually very good with the pit stops, so I was a little surprised that I actually came out in front of him.
Yeah, watching up here, it was neck and neck. I couldn't see you over the wall because the car's a little too short, and then we get the camera comes around, and you just made it past the wall as Steve was coming around. I was extremely impressed up here. Nice work.
Yeah, and then the second part, I had to go into a little bit of fuel saving as well, just to make sure. I mean, I finished with like 0.3 gallons, so I was saving there on that second part as well, just a little bit. But I'd managed to figure out how I could save fuel and still run a decent lap time. So yeah, it just kind of worked out.
Well, very nice show from everybody here this evening. It was exciting stuff to watch up here, and the pit stop really nice, shakes it up a little bit here in these, where it's typically a sprint race. So we got to mix it up just a little bit there. Steve, congratulations here on your win. Next week we're going to head down to Sebring and all those lovely bumps and the Sunset Bend. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. Now, let me pull up these championship standings so we can see where we're sitting right now. Now, I have to verify these with iRacing Official, but as it looks right now, Steve, a bit of a late start to the season, but you're currently out on top so far as the points show right now. Second place, we got Stefan. Third's Jeff. Fourth, Dave Curtis. And fifth, Wiley Cox. Darren, you're not on my scoring sheets. Oh, you're down there at the bottom. That's okay. Doesn't mean it's not going to be exciting. One more race this season in the Ford GT at Sebring. Looking for some exciting stuff. Any thoughts as we approach the last race of season 9 here for Mr. Focacci?
I really like Sebring. I'm not saying I'm going to win or anything, but I do like Sebring. It's track that kind of just agrees with me. I think we all have a lot of laps there. I think this was the first race that as a group we all ran the endurance event. So I would say the whole grid's probably very familiar with Sebring. So it should be good. But I just want to thank you for doing the broadcasting. I've done it a few times this season and have made a mess of it. So I think I'm a better racer than broadcaster. So thank you for filling in.
Yeah, it's at some point I hope to get down into the driver's seat and spend a bit more time out there with you and try not to be too much of a rolling chicane for everybody. But no, I appreciate you saying that, and it's a lot of fun to sit up here and watch, particularly when you all put on a good show like you did. I mean, you were nose to tail there. Could have put a very long blanket over you there on the front straight, and it looked great on the broadcast. So thanks to everybody here this evening. Steve, congratulations on the win. Darren, a very nice effort tonight. Stefan and Jeff as well. Excellent driving. I really like to see that stuff. So thank you all for joining me up here. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, gents, I'm going to sign off on the other side. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you next week at Sebring.
Sounds good.
All righty.
See ya.
Bye-bye. And I am Ian Wisman for the VRG Virtual Racer League. We thank you for joining us out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be at Sebring, final race of Season 9 in the Ford GT. 8 o'clock Tuesday night, right here on YouTube. If you want to get involved, swing by vrgonline.org. Send us a message. We'll get you set up with a sim rig, teach you what you got to do, where you got to go, how to get racing with us. And like I said, winter is coming. We'll be in the house. We'll be racing. Might as well come join us. Thanks again for joining us.